What's up, guys? Hobby with Cage, episode 270. A quick one today, brought to you by Card Ladder and by Arena Club. Uh, long night last night. Long night. Good, fun football game. Title of the episode: To Buy or Not to Buy. That's the question. And I've done a couple episodes recently. We did the Spotify Wrapped, and we talked about card shows, and we talked about lots of different players and you name it, and rookies and how much they cost as opposed to like the hype versus great guys. And I mean, I didn't even see a headline on it. Russell Westbrook passing Tim Duncan on the all-time scorers list, and like I said, in a couple games, Harden is going to pass Carmelo Anthony, moving to the top 10 scoring list of all time. And I don't think anybody cares. And I had some fun conversation in my in my story yesterday. I posted a poll, and a lot of people gave me some great baseball names. And if you listen to this, you could probably think of them. Where the hobby is kind of driven by that hype cycle. The hobby is driven by who's the new player that people are trying to buy in this year's release, right? I mean, think about the MLB debut patch of Paul Skeens, or think about what Yamamoto cards are doing now, or think about, the rookie chases in every product over time, right? Who's the hot rookie quarterback this year that people are chasing, whether it was Jaden Daniels last year, Drake May now, CJ Stroud the year before that. I mean, there just always seems to be, somebody that's being chased, and that, keeps the hobby going, keeps everybody excited to break new products. And what was great about it was, people got with Todd Van Poppel came out, Kevin Moss, Brian Taylor. There were so many great names that people, mentioned that they were, trying to buy, and none of them amount to anything, And I had some great conversations yesterday about, folks finding their Eddie Jones binders, it gets you thinking about cards, right? And it really colored my decision last night. I bought something in alt. And it went for a lot higher than I expected it to go for. And it's a card from a set that I've been buying. I know the set well. I have several cards from it. And I would say I like to pay 10. We'll go as high as 15. And this one went more than that. Cool image, that might have something to do with it. And I found myself, in extended bidding, very extended bidding. Thank you, Alt, for not letting me sleep, I guess. And making the decision, do I buy this or do I not buy this? And it's funny because I know a lot of you out there have the same, do I buy this or do I let it pass? Do I just go for the next one, right? And that's an interesting thing, right? Because sometimes there might not be a next one. Who knows when the next one will be? And I wanted to come on and share my thought process. So first, I had a good night on DraftKings on the Lions and Dallas game. Somebody called me earlier in the day, and I'm like, I don't like the sports bet. And they're like, what if you had to tonight's game? What would you bet? And I gave like 5 things, and all of them came in. So I really should have been like parlay and stuff. But anyway, not to digress into the sports betting stuff. You guys know, if you've been listening for a long time, I am the prop king. I do know NFL props pretty well. Anyway, so that helped. But I digress. What else helped? One, I have focused my collection on GOATs for the most part. Now, you guys look at my IG page, and I bought a big Julio Rodriguez card, and I have a Bobby Witt card, and I have some modern stuff now that I didn't previously have. And you're not going to call either of those guys GOATs yet. Who knows? Who knows? But for the most part, I like to buy Messi. I like to buy Tom Brady. I like to buy Michael Jordan. So this card fit into that category. This card was a GOAT card. So, to that end, I don't have a concern about buying it and it dropping. It wasn't buying a Jaden Daniels card and then he's going to fall off the earth. It wasn't buying a young prospect where, I have worries that if I overpay for this, I'm overpaying for something that is going to be volatile and potentially really drop down. I don't have that concern. So that's factor number one. Factor number two is the cards that I buy, they don't come up for sale that often. And it just so happens that a few have come up for sale in the last, short time period, when for months before that, there were none available. And that puts you in a little bit of I don't want to say a pickle, right? Because listen, I'm not poor by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm also not wealthy. I can't be dropping, crazy amounts of money on cards all in the same couple of weeks, especially, my credit card bills come too, just like the rest of you. So you're sitting there in extended bidding and, you want to try to not let emotion take over, because I've had that happen to me. I really have. I've had that happen to me where you get emotional and you act a little irrationally, like, I'm going to beat this other guy, You still have to be rational about it. And my rational thought process on this was, in addition to it being a GOAT type card, even though a few of these have been available recently, there was a time where if I wanted one, I couldn't buy one. I really, really would have to overpay for one. So that factored into my equation too. Like, after I buy this, I don't know when the next one will potentially come up. If I don't get this one, I don't know when the next, thing will come. And I decided I'm going to buy it, and I bought it. And I've mentioned to you guys that I've been buying a lot more recently. It's my comfort level with the hobby and with my PC. But yeah, it was one of those interesting things where, in extended bidding, I was like, oh, maybe I'll let this one go. And I had to basically do a calculation in my brain of, if I do let it go, and here's the fun one. When I wake up tomorrow, how am I going to feel? Crazy to think about that, right? Because come on, the hobby heroes like to call this one, it's pictures of men. Not exactly the case, with Caitlin Clark. People are buying pictures of men and women now. But you get the point, like pictures of men. But not to get too sappy here, if you're listening to this, you enjoy this as much as I do. You like these pictures of men. You like having a collection of them. Maybe you're thinking of yourself as an investor in this stuff. And some of you think this is a significantly better investment than buying stock and gold and Bitcoin and real estate. And for the last couple of years, you've been right. So you take this stuff seriously. And there's a little bit of emotion in there, because it's not like buying Google. And I know I like to make that comparison. I talk about my son. If I didn't buy Google today, and it happened to go up in price tomorrow, I could still buy it. I could still just pay a little bit more, wake up tomorrow and say, I should have bought that Google. I could buy it next week. I could buy it whenever, right? It's available. Cards, not so much, right? And you have to come to terms with how you're going to feel if you don't buy it. Now, this is a foreign concept to people. This is why I love the podcast, because if I tried to explain this to my wife, she'd be like, you are nuts. What are you talking about? How are you going to feel in the morning? So you didn't buy a baseball card, whatever. You guys know better. You know exactly what I'm talking about, because you've let those things pass. You've let those cards go, and you wake up the next day or the next week and you're like, damn, I really should have bought that card. And then a month goes by, 2 months go by, and not another opportunity comes up, and you're like, I really regret that. I've had that. I've had that happen. I've had it happen more often than I like to admit. And it made me bid that extra bid, pay that extra money. I'm going to say overpay, because I think I overpaid. But I wake up this morning happy. Weird, right? Happy that I overpaid. Why? Because I went through the motions. Some of it was emotion, but I went through the calculation of, all right, does it check all my boxes? Does it fit into my collection? Is this something that I will own in a year, 2, 3? Yes. Well, if that's the case, maybe you want to pay 15 for it now and you got to pay 18. Would you pay 18 for it in a year? If I gave you $15,000, would you pay 18? Would you give me $15,000 for $18,000 in 2 or 3 years? Probably. That's like putting it in a CD. So that's kind of how I look at it. Like, if I'm going to hold this card for a long time, yeah, I paid a couple extra $1,000, but I don't think I'll be able to get it for that couple extra $1,000 in 2 or 3 years. And it's one of those kind of cards that, the person who's going to buy it is not buying it to quick flip it. They're not going to be selling it anytime soon. And once you go through that, that whole mental Olympics on the stuff, I always err towards now picking it up and figuring it out after. I can always find a card for my collection to sell if I need to, make that a couple extra $1,000 to pay for it. And that's just me. And I woke up this morning thinking that way. You can tell I'm happy about buying the card. Now I just got to figure out how to pay for it. But I wanted to come on and do the episode with me happy about it because it would have been a very different episode, or you might not have even gotten one had I let it go. So I don't know if I would have dragged my ass in front of the computer and been like, God, guys, let me do an episode this morning about the emotion the morning after when you let somebody else take your card in extended bidding and alt. Maybe. I don't know if I would have done that episode. And I'm sure you guys would have probably loved it because I would have been miserable. I'm like, come on, I stayed up until what time to let somebody else get the card? Not going to let that happen. So anyway, this is me. Happy that I overpaid, as ridiculous as that sounds. And I hope this hits a nerve with some of you collectors out there, because I do a lot of episodes and, I've skewed towards the pragmatic. I've skewed towards the, my son's buying stock and, maybe the cards are not the best investment and the whole deal. This really wasn't an investment card. This was just a card that fits my current PC. It fits what I want to add for the long term. To me, it's a card that I don't see going down in value ever. And I don't know when I get another opportunity to purchase it. So it checks so many boxes that, that's the kind of card you may go a little over your price range for. And that's the Hobby with Cage number 270, brought to you by Card Ladder and Arena Club. And for those of you out there who didn't listen to yesterday's episode or the day before, whatever it is, thank you. Truly thank you. If you are listening to this 12-minute episode has crossed your brain, crossed your ears, you see me on YouTube and you're watching this, a serious thank you, a heartfelt thank you. I appreciate every one of you guys. I'm still, I don't say reeling, but I'm still amazed when I pulled up that Spotify Wrap and just to see the numbers that are out there and just the amount of people who are listening and just checking in and the messages that I got yesterday, and keep those coming. I love those people showing me, the top 1%, top 10%, that's pretty amazing. Even if I'm not in your top 10, but you're still listening to this, I appreciate you just as much. It's, I like to say you're paying the bills. You're not, but you keep my wife sane, which is really important to me. You know what I mean? Because I get to talk to you guys instead of having to tell her about cards. And if I started telling her about these cards, she would make me stop buying them. So that alone, I love you for it. I'll talk to you guys soon. I'll try to keep doing more episodes. I have people who tell me, I wake up at 5 a.m. and hope that there's a new episode because, they play it in the background when they're getting ready, or they play it on their commute or on the gym, or like I've talked about a bunch of times in the John. So, I mean, maybe I owe you guys some more episodes, and as many as I put out in 2025 to get up to the top 93%, like, the top 7th percentile and listen to podcasts across all Spotify. Maybe I'll try to improve on that next year and give you guys some more stuff to listen to, because why the hell not? I'll talk to you guys soon. Let me know what you think about this one. Different episode, different kind of stuff. And it's just how I'm feeling this morning. I know you guys have woken up after auctions and kind of felt the same way, whether you won the card or didn't. And, just a fun little hobby couple minutes. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care, everybody.